Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to this live employer masterclass from the Change in Education Group. This is an opportunity for employers to give you, the students, a real insight into their world of work. My name is Amos Madry, your host and careers advisor here at the Change in Education Group. Joining me today is Neil Whitman, who is a freelance animator. Neil is an award-winning animator specializing in motion graphics, lyric videos, and music promotions. He has over 2 decades of motion graphic design experience at Sky and the BBC. So when I say we're talking to a heavy hitter, I mean it. So Neil, a warm welcome to you. How you doing?
Hi, Amos. Yeah, nice to meet you. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us for this live session. So there's lots that I'd like to get through. I'm excited to ask you some questions in what you've been doing in terms of how the whole animation field works, and also your past experience as well. I can see you've got an eclectic background in what you've done through university study, qualifications, as well as the experiences that you've had as well working for some top organizations. So before we get into that, how's the past year been for you?
I'm one of the lucky ones, I think, because I basically work remotely from my home office anyway these days. And so the last year has actually been quite easy on me compared to other people. Also, these days, as you mentioned, I do a lot of music videos and music work, and I think because all the musicians in the world are stuck at home writing new albums and new songs, they're still coming to me. So I've been very fortunate. I know it's been such a difficult year, so I'm really fortunate that the animation industry has been able to carry on remotely over, well, certainly for me it has anyway.
Yeah, and you know, animation, when sometimes you mention it, people might think cartoons, but it's far beyond that. There's just so much more to it, you know, from the banners that you get on the news channels to, videos that you might watch on YouTube to all sorts of things. Could you tell us in layman terms exactly what it is that you do and how you work with these musicians as well?
Yeah. So I mean, as you say, yes. So animation is like the umbrella, and then all these other things can come underneath it. So you can work in television or film or gaming. And as you say, you can't turn on the television or go online without seeing some form of animation. And so over the years, I've worked in different sectors, but these days, I run my own business, creating music videos, sometimes for albums that came out 30, 40 years ago, and they never had videos back in the day to stream. Perhaps they're about to re-release an album or something like that. Or it can be something brand new, and that they come to me and say, here's the album cover. Can you bring it to life? Can you do something with it? And if it's not music videos, then it's adverts as well. So everything on social media is promotion. So how they sell their music, they come to me and ask me to bring their adverts to life, basically. So that's what I do. But I love it. I've been very fortunate to get to this stage, and now I enjoy going to work every day, basically.
Yeah, exactly. and I mean, that's the ultimate goal, isn't it? Is doing something that, you know, you could do for free. Your passion comes across loud and clear. You get to work on so many different things. No 2 days are the same. So working with different clients, from musicians to TV, again, that can, you know, have its own, great things that come with it, but challenges as well, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, certainly back in, I was at, as you say, Sky and BBC. I worked in BBC News for 15 years. And the scariest thing about doing that job is when you're in news, you've got no time. If there's a breaking story and they want something graphicised. And what I mean by that is perhaps it could be something as dull as a courtroom statement, so-and-so said this, but it could be something far more interesting, like green screening somebody into a medical graphic explaining how something works, you know. So, but with something like news, you know, you're generally given the commission in the morning, and by the evening they want you to, it's got to go out, it's got to go to air. So if you don't make that deadline, then you can't bring it out the next day. The story's already been and gone, kind of thing. So it's high pressure, but you learn to think quick and solve problems quickly, and it becomes second nature after a while.
Yeah, I mean, just as you said that, I was thinking of some of the news when you're watching the news. I mean, it could be absolutely anything that our audience, I know most our audience are very young, so I don't know if they'll be watching news too much. But when you watch the news and you can see live tweets on one side of the screen, whilst the
Yeah,
reporter might be saying something, you've got breaking news banner at the
yeah,
bottom, you've got the ticker going across. All that's animation. And then, of course, when they're trying to explain something as well, where they have to try and use graphics, and especially with the coronavirus pandemic, reporters have found that using graphics has been a big part in what they do, just to explain what they're trying to say.
yeah. I was still working part-time at the BBC when coronavirus started, like this time, well, just over a year ago now, wasn't it? So I was there when they had no pictures to explain what is the coronavirus, which sounds a ludicrous question now, as we all know. But back in the day, we didn't. And so you would be given maybe an image if you were fortunate or something to explain how these things are. And that was often your job in news. If they haven't got any other pictures, they haven't got footage, they haven't got audio of anyone, so they need graphics on screen to explain, and to explain clearly to the viewer what is going on, you know. So whether it is, again, taking a reporter and having them walk inside the virus or whatever it was, you know. But you had to be accurate. They were scary ones, actually. I preferred the lighter pieces where it was about orchards or wine making or something like that. If it's something serious like medical, you know, you're either right or wrong. So you have to get your facts right, because you'll soon be picked up on social media if you haven't.
Yeah, I can just think of the BBC correspondent Fergus Walsh explaining how the virus transmits and how it travels across, and all of that is demonstrated through graphics.
Yeah.
So you can imagine this sort of pressure to get that right, to make sure.
Absolutely. And the other pressure with those things was also you'd want to be putting out the latest statistics, and often they weren't coming in until after 5 o'clock. So say you're going on air at 6:30, you've got to have those. You've got to have those graphics up to date as well. So it's not just a matter of building it, or if you're about to put that out, you can't put out information that's an hour old, because things were changing so quickly last year. So yeah, it can be challenging with any news story like that. Yes, but you learn to adapt, and you learn to say yes and no. You grow a bit of a backbone, because you have to say to a journalist or something, I can do this, this, and this, but I can't do this in time, because there's no point making promises you can't keep. So you'll be better to say you can't have that, but you can have this, this, and this. And 9 out of 10 times, they're always expect, even what you deliver, they don't even expect that you could manage that at the time. So if you're doing this every day, you kind of get used to making things fast. Yeah.
Incredible. You enjoy the pressure?
I did, but I don't miss it. Now that I can sit at home and do more fun music-based things. I don't. I mean, there's still pressure, because there's always deadlines, and people always want something tomorrow or yesterday, even, you know. But I don't miss that pressure. No, I don't think. I think I did my time. But I think it's a really good way to get into television, because you understand all the language of television. You know, you sit and can watch the program and go out, and we used to play the graphics live from where I was. So while the reporter stood at the screen, it's your job to hit that button at the right time, which used to daunt me, but not at all in the later years. It's just part of the job, really. But it's a really good way, because I've then seen people move into other areas of television as well. So it's a good foot in the door, and you often find that news is a good starting place, actually, news and sports, really. Yeah.
And again, you know, graphics has become a huge part of TV today. Everything that you see is, you know, it's always got graphics involved in it. From even films as well. You know, I always think of the Iron Man movies when he's got the helmet on and you've got all that information sticking around him. That's you know, always imagining that sort of thing. But tell us a little bit about, you know, your past. How did you get into this whole industry, and where did it all start? Where did you catch the bug?
Well, I mean, I'd like to say, you know, that I'm sure most people say, I'd like to say it was all planned, but of course, you know, things change as you go along. So I left school knowing that the one thing I was any good at was art. I enjoyed doing art, and so it made sense. I didn't want to go and work in a bank or an office or something. So it made sense to follow, again, like I was saying earlier, follow if it's something you enjoy doing, it makes it much easier. So I went with art, and I went to art college for 2 years, and it really gave me 2 years to sit and figure out what I wanted to do. It was a general art and design course, so you got to try your hand at everything. So from typography all the way through to textile making. So you could try different things each term. And it was gradually there that I kind of realized I wanted to get into filmmaking and television and that side of things. But it took a good couple of years to really quite cement that. So that's how I began. And then that led, and I've been very fortunate in life that everything's kind of led to the next thing, because somebody on the course, their husband was running a film course up the road in Canterbury at the university. So I went along and met him and got shown around, and I was like, oh yeah, this is for me. So I did my degree in radio, film and television, as it was then called. I think it's just called media now. But they had animation on the course, but it was a little room with one computer that you each booked about 2 weeks out to go and have a go. So it wasn't like a major part of the course. So I knew I loved doing it because it was my favorite part of the course. But when I left, I don't really feel like I'd learned that much about it. So a lot of what I do is self-taught, you know. So I started playing with software such as After Effects, all the Adobe suite. So After Effects is my favorite, you know, software in the world. That's the one I use. But I played with 3D software over the years as well. And as soon as I left university, there was a scholarship to go to Sky. And that literally the following week, I left university and went into Sky and worked in their graphics department, making all the live graphics, as you say, on all the sporting events and the Sky Sports News and all these things. And these days, a lot of that is kind of generated. You can just type into a box and, you know, it'll animate on the screen. But back in the day, we were using what were called Aston machines. So you were literally typing out the name as each thing animated, and you'd bring it all on. And that, again, was very scary. If you're on a live sporting event and thousands of people watching, you've got to get your typos, you know, you've got to get your spelling correctly. And I soon learned if I ever got a name wrong or spelled anything. So I gradually, so I kind of at that point more of an operator rather than a designer, but I was still doing all these things on the side. So I was always one for keep learning stuff in my free time. And the good thing about Sky, it was a lot of shift work, so you had time to do other things. And then I gradually started getting more into design, which got me the job at the BBC. And again, on the side, I went part-time at the BBC and started making connections in the music industry. I'd seen some adverts where people wanted stuff animated, like album covers again and things like that. And so from there, that's kind of where I got to today. And then eventually I thought, actually, I could do this full time and not have a boss, and I could work for myself and still do all the things I really enjoy and do it from home. Who knew we had a pandemic coming at the time? And so I eventually went full time freelance. So, and the beauty, as you said at the start, is being a freelancer, you could be working on a really serious medical explainer for a website. There's a charity I've just done some work for 1 week, and then another day you can be cutting out the Beach Boys and putting it to music and stuff. So it's a really fun, varied job, which does keep life interesting. If you were doing the same band week in, week out or anything, it could probably get a bit hard work. But yeah. Did that answer the question?
Definitely did, yeah. And I suppose with your reputation, lots of clients will definitely want that repeat business.
Yeah. And I mean, of course, you have to have the skills and the knowledge to know what you're doing. But I think I'm really fortunate. I get a lot of repeat business, and it's just because I think just be approachable, be someone you want to work with, because it's all very well to be good at the job but have no social skills. But if you're someone that turns up on time and is always, you know, helpful, has ideas, and delivers on time, the most important thing, it doesn't matter what happens in your life, if you've got to get those deadlines, you know. So as long as you're someone that they know they can depend on, that they're going to keep coming back to you. And I'm very fortunate. I do get a lot of feedback like that says, oh, this is great. Oh, while you're here, can you just take this and do another job? And the amount of work that leads to more work, simply just by being approachable, really. That's the easiest thing.
Yeah.
You know, that's the easy bit. Yeah. But it's amazing how, you know, just make sure, keep them informed, keep emailing, say, yes, I'm going to do this today and I'll have this for you by tomorrow. And that tends to work really well, and that gets me a lot of clients that keep coming back to me, because if they're up against it and they know that, you know, sometimes they'll suddenly think of something on a Friday night and they need it by Monday morning. They know they can hand it over to me, go and have a lovely weekend with their friends and family and come back on a Monday and I'll have the work done, you know. So I think that's my best advice on that one, is just be someone you want to work with, really. Yeah,
great advice for our audience. You mentioned while studying, what you'd done was, things have changed. The business has changed. The industry has changed. The software that you used whilst you were at university is not something that's used anymore. That clearly shows how technology is constantly changing. You've got to reinvent yourself. You need to keep up to date with what the latest tech is, so that at least you're ahead of your competitors. You also mentioned that Adobe as well. Talk to us a little bit more about Adobe. It's such an interesting package because there's so much that comes with it. There's obviously audio, there's the video editing, and then of course there's the Photoshop as well. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, funny enough, some of these were around in my day, but my goodness, they've changed over the years and got so much more sophisticated. Only today, I was trying to cut out some hair on an album cover and it was all strands of hair. And of course, I went straight onto YouTube. You watch a quick 10-minute tutorial and you realize you can cut out every single, you know, the detail of what you can do now, you couldn't do in the early days of the software. It was very blocky when you cut things out. But so Adobe, I mean, that's just a no-brainer, really. That if you're going to work in the animation industry, I don't think I've ever seen a job advertised that doesn't say you should know the Adobe suite. So that the main, you know, the core ones that you would want to know would be Photoshop and After Effects in animation. But as you say, it's good to know audio software as well, which escapes me right now. But yes, there are so many other things though. Like if you download the Adobe suite, there are icons there. I don't think there's still some, I'm sure I don't quite know what they are, but I think some are for probably web design, and some are for so many other things. But they're coming to a point now you can almost do, like, for me in After Effects, I can edit the music in After Effects on a timeline as well. So sometimes you can do everything in one that you don't do in another. But as running my own business, there's no question that I wouldn't pay for the Adobe subscription, because that's your key one that you need to use that. And I mean, there are obviously some good things coming along, like compared to Photoshop, there's another one called Affinity Photo, and they do very similar work as well. And they're very helpful online as well. But what's I going to say about the Photoshop thing though? It's like all these things. It's just finding the time to sit and learn them, watch the tutorials. It's great to have a wealth of tutorials online now to help you with these things. But it pretty much seems to be the standard for the industry. So, you know, it's not like you go to one company and another company and they all use something different. Everybody seems to use the Adobe suite that I've ever seen anyway. So I don't think it could hurt to learn those, really.
They've got great packages for students as well. Not that we're selling Adobe products.
Sometimes the money is crazy though. I find sometimes just subscribe to one of them. You know, it's much cheaper, especially with a student. So a student discount, I imagine, even better. You don't even need half the suite. So anyway, that's just my advice.
No, great point. We're both definitely evangelists for Adobe.
Are we sponsored? No, we're not sponsored.
So, you know, you're again very passionate about what you do. Things have gone really well for you over the past few years. How do you deal with setbacks? How do you deal with that client who cancelled at the last minute?
You kind of, this only comes with time, but I've been told this in the past, and now I can see that the advice is correct. You kind of feel it on day one. You know if an employer or a client, or you know if they're going to be difficult or not, and you've really got to weigh up. It's the kudos of doing the work worth working for this person. If there's someone that asks you to do something and say they'll send it next week, and then a month has passed and they said, oh yeah, that's coming tomorrow, and then another month, you kind of get to the point that you just think, there's no way I can fit these people into my schedule. Because if you reserve time to work with someone and they don't come to you, then you're out of pocket at the end of the week. So I mean, there are always going to be, I've been fortunate that I've managed to pacify most people that are difficult that I work with. Generally, I find people generally are only difficult if they are surprised or don't know what they're getting. So again, it's keeping them informed, and also writing out, like at the start of a project, like on this date we're going to deliver this, on this date you're going to deliver this, because otherwise they'll turn around and go, I wasn't expecting this, and you can at least say, well, this is what we said. I've been very fortunate on payments. I know some people do struggle where they do the work, maybe you take 50% up front or something, but then the client doesn't pay. And so when people are being difficult, I don't know, I guess bow out as easily as you can and don't work with them again is what I would say, because they're not going to change. And